So today we're going into a topic that I find incredibly interesting. It's about some possible Paladins lore, and it is deep. Paladins has scratched the surface with deep storylines before with Andrew and Lex, Zin and Koga, and Terminus and Inara, but they've never really gone all the way. You never really see more than a glimpse of the impact these stories have on these characters. This time around though, it's looking like we might, and I really hope they do go all the way with it. Now, before we go any further, all of you need to be up to date on the teasers that have been coming out on the Paladins Twitter, mainly the ones that are centered around our newest flank character that will be revealed soon. Many of you have probably already seen them somewhere, but please bear with me as I go over them one more time for people who may have not seen them. So here's the first one. When I was young, I believed in everything you told me. I believed that from the sky you looked over us and loved us all. Even when you weren't yourself, I believed in you. Those lines were accompanied by this image of Bazaar, so it's obvious that this person is talking about Io, leading us to believe that this person is one of Io's followers. Next one was, I swore in allegiance, I would protect your seal, I would keep our world at peace, keep the darkness at bay, and protect us all, just as you would protect us. I still believed in you. Now here we get to see what this follower looks like. She wields a scythe and stands out among the other followers quite a bit, sporting an outfit that resembles Io's. How different her appearance is leads me to believe that either she is some high-ranking follower, or a fighter that will eagerly put her life on the line for Io. So either way, her devotion to Io is pretty unquestioned. Then there was this one. But the world didn't believe in anything. Everything grew dark and then somehow even darker. As every day passed and you denied us your light, innocents all died amongst the righteous crusades. I believed... This character is likely referencing all of the war and fighting that's been going on in the realm, which is what they'd be calling the Darkness. Perhaps they know the name Darkness from Io somehow, but it's likely they aren't positive on what it really is, because at this point in the timeline, nobody really knows. People only find out what it is when Atlas goes back in time to tell them. So it makes sense that the followers would relate all this chaos to darkness. Every day the fighting escalates, and at some point it started to affect them. We all saw it a year ago. The war came to the place that Io's followers call home. From our point of view, the fighting was quick, but in reality they were fighting there for weeks, if not months, because battles in war can last a long time. Innocents get caught up in war all the time. Io's followers are no different. They probably attempted to hold out as long as they could, waiting for Io to help them while they died. With their faith, they probably had no doubt that their goddess would protect them, especially after all of their faithful service to her. But Io didn't come, at least not in time. Now moving on to the next one. I've forsaken you in our darkest hours, surrounded by the bodies of my brothers and sisters. I found a new god. I whispered into the darkness, and they whispered back. I believe in me now. So yes, many of Io's followers died as Io seemingly stood back and did nothing. In this particular follower's eyes, her god stood back and watched as her people were slaughtered. All of their faith and love did nothing for them. Her god just didn't care, so why should she? With no other option and no one else to turn to, she probably went to this crystal, or moon piece that we see in Atlas's history book, the moon piece that housed and released the darkness. Interestingly enough, that woman that Corvus has in his hand is an elf, and so is this follower. Committing a taboo amongst her people, the follower asked the moon piece for help, for power, for the ability to never have to rely on anyone's false promises ever again. And unlike her goddess Io, the moon piece answered her, spoke to her, and gave her what she wanted. This woman only has to believe in herself now. But is this woman really herself anymore? We all know that power taints the mind. It can lead you down a dark road that there's no turning back from, and it's possible that this follower will never turn back now. You see this arm here in the image? Doesn't it look very similar to the arm in this Atlas card art? The arm of the being that took Atlas's arm from him. Atlas has been warning us about something that's coming, and what's coming is our newest character. It seems like he knows this character personally. I also want to point out that this arm is the only darkness being that we've seen that resembles a person. All the other things look like bugs, snakes, and tentacles. The two arms do look a bit different, but if you've been corrupted by some kind of alien symbiote for years, it's likely going to evolve during that time. Now I've talked enough about the upcoming character. Now some of you may think I'm saying all this because I am in the AOC, and I do get to see the behind the scenes stuff, so I probably know the story already. I will admit I have of course seen the character and her kit, but I've heard basically nothing about their story, and I haven't asked because honestly I do like still having some surprises. I like being able to speculate on how things are going to turn out. It's something I honestly miss about being a regular player. So when I do get the opportunity, I don't normally tend to throw it away by asking for more answers. So when it comes to this character's story, I'm in the dark as much as you guys are. Now that's enough talk about the new character's possible story. What I really want to talk about in the rest of this video is Io, because everything that's come out has put her in a very negative light. We have two gods in the game, her and Genos. Genos came to help people ahead of time out of the goodness of his heart, while Io stood back until her fellow god was in trouble and Io was called upon. That can very easily make people feel like Io doesn't really care about mortals. However, I do think people are focusing too much on the new character's side of the story and not Io's. There are always multiple sides to a story with multiple people. A friend of mine, Jinx Flare, enlightened me on some possible reasons for why Io has acted the way she has. And before hearing all this, I was like most people. I was willing to believe that Io simply didn't care, but now I find it very doubtful that that's the case. So let's go back to Io's reveal trailer. Listen to what Io has to say.
We watched you for eons, waiting, dreaming of the day we might meet. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Pieces of us hurtled toward your embrace, along with something else. The darkness. We were broken, unwhole, unworthy of your servant's kindness. But to see them broken too, they do not deserve this. We do not wish to fight, but we will do what we must. There is still hope left in the realm. And so I am here, so no more will be broken.
Let's break it down. Io says that they have waited eons to meet the people of the realm. Now obviously Io was excited and eager to meet the people, but didn't. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense. If you want to so bad, why wouldn't you do it? And it's honestly likely because Io couldn't. For whatever reason, Io probably lacked the ability to gain a physical form and come down to the realm. Maybe Io didn't know how, maybe somebody had to show her. Maybe Genos, since he obviously figured out how. That could be the reason, it could be something else. But anyway, when Io finally sounded like she was able to do it, the darkness broke her. Io said it wasn't supposed to be like this, says they were broken and unworthy of their servant's kindness. Io wanted to be everything they looked at her as, but in Io's mind, how could she be if she was in pieces? The moon is bright, beautiful, awe-inspiring, and powerful. Or at least it was. Now it's cracked, less of what it once was, less of what her followers always believed her to be. Io didn't come down because Io was scared to disappoint them, and her trauma from being broken fueled that fear. If somebody broke you like that, would you honestly be able to face people the same way again? A lot of people give Io's character a lot of flack because Io's broken, but her in-game appearance doesn't reflect that. Think of it this way, think of the moon as her mind. If your mind is broken, do you want to show it to other people? Normally no, because you'd be afraid of them looking down on you. So when Io made her physical form, Io made it perfect and adorable, and did it to hide what's broken inside. Maybe if people are looking down at her on the ground, they won't get so caught up on what's broken above. Io is an unfortunate victim of anxiety and self-deprecation. If you're somebody like that, or you've known somebody like that, then you know it makes life very hard and blockades you from doing things you want to do. In Io's case, that would be revealing herself to the people. Now Io eventually did, of course, but that wasn't until there was no other option. Her fellow god was in trouble, and maybe he called upon her. Maybe he told her what she needed to hear to restore her confidence and get her to act, and sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you can't fix what's wrong in your head on your own. You need somebody to help you, somebody to lean on, and even then that probably doesn't fix it fully. But it does give you a boost to help take the next step. And that's what happened here. Io finally took the next step, but unfortunately for some of her followers, it was too late. The damage is done. Io may have cared a lot in reality, but the people who suffered won't see it that way. The woman who sought out the darkness won't see it that way, especially not with it corrupting her mind. You know, you'd probably expect a god to be perfect, right? And maybe they are on the outside. But in this universe at least, on the inside, they're people just like the rest of us. They make mistakes, they feel pain, they beat themselves down. They don't want to hurt the ones they love, they don't want to let all those people that look up to them down. They try so hard, but they slip up, they lose their grip, they fall on the ground, and they need a hand to help raise them back up. Personally, I think that's a lot better than a god that just assumes they're above everything and everyone. How can you really love something if you look down on it? Now I really want to see how Io and this new character meet. I want to see Io attempt to reconcile and explain herself, to attempt to get this character to forsake the darkness and return to the correct path. Only to fail. And yeah, that sounds harsh, it really does, but I honestly feel like that's what would happen. This character's mind is not fully her own anymore, and she very well may be lost forever, and that's something Io is going to have to deal with. The guilt will probably be immeasurable, and the darkness will likely exploit that in order to be on an even playing field with a goddess. Not every story is going to have a happy ending, and honestly the ones that don't tend to hit the deepest. And Paladins could really use a deep, hard-hitting story. The foundation is there, it's always been there, and we've waited long enough for something like that, haven't we? Anyway, personally I don't blame Io for doing what she did. Her situation was far from an easy one. But despite that, Io needs to find a way to fix her mistakes, because her mistakes have indirectly unleashed a force that ripped the realm apart in the future. Thankfully, Io isn't alone. Io has friends and newfound allies to help her. Hopefully it'll be enough to secure a new future for the realm. That's it for this video. Let me know what y'all think. I would love to read your thoughts on this in the comments below. Again, I'm always super interested in deep, hard-hitting stories like this, especially when it involves divine and otherworldly beings. I love that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much it guys. I want to thank y'all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys later. Bye.